I'm Bill Giebler with NBJ. I'm the Content and Insights Director at NBJ, and happy to be here for another NBJ Live with my colleague, Erika Kraft. Good morning, Erika.
Hey, Bill. Good morning.
Still morning where you are too, right?
It is. It's 11:30. I am East Coast time, so it is still morning.
And I'm in the Boulder office here at New Hope, home of NBJ, and I'm wearing jeans. I haven't been this cold since, well, last week at NBJ Summit.
Right.
Southern California coast always surprises me how chilly it is up there. Now it's cold here. It's been after a couple of heat waves. Now it's cool.
Okay, well, what do you mean by cold? We need to set the stage here on what cold means.
63 and drizzly.
Right, that's cold.
And not a
That's
sliver
fair.
of sun in sight.
Well,
All right. So anyway, let's move on to more interesting things. Pardon me while I talk about the weather. Conditions to consider for today's consumer. There's some nice alliteration in there. Conditions to consider for today's consumer. We just released our condition-specific report, and it's a big one. It's a big report that we do every year. There's a handful of reports that we do pretty much every year, and this is one of them. And it's a beast. There's a lot that goes into it. Would you agree?
oh, I would agree. It's funny. It's the one that takes the most legwork from a data team perspective. There's a lot of moving pieces around with the top 22 conditions. And there's a lot going on in the supplement industry, and every year consumers are changing on what they're looking for, what their interests are, and sometimes it's a little surprising and other times it's confirming. But I'm excited to get into that today. It's what I think is fun to talk about.
Every year we crack it open and we look at it and we polish it up, but this year went a little deeper, made sure we had all the right ingredients in the right categories, and reworked some of the numbers, even historical numbers. So what we came out with this report is some new information that we haven't shared before in years past, and I think it's looking good. So let's look at it.
Yeah, let's do it. I love that you set it up like that too. It's one of those things where we've gotten the question before, right? Of do you ever go back and look at what you said historically and see if you're on track? And we did that this year. We took that feedback and we were like, we'll go back and retweak things and reallocate where we feel necessary. So yeah, I think this report is really great this year, rich with a lot of insights. So with that, wanted to just go ahead and set a base, start a foundation for what we're talking about here, and just kind of list some of these conditions, right? So we can see from a market share perspective, right? So sales dollars, what are the biggest categories in terms of sales? So right there we see fitness and energy is going to be topping the list when we're looking at specific conditions at that 17.8%. This is for 2023, so we just finalized 23 numbers. And then followed by weight management. So one of the reasons why fitness and energy is taking up such a big chunk of that pie is because it's containing protein powders, protein beverages, sports nutrition powders like creatine, pre-workout, BCAAs. So that's a pretty big chunk of the supplement market right there. So that's why it's significantly larger than the others. And then you have weight management, of course, then cold, flu, and immunity, gut health, heart health, women's general health, definitely one that's being talked a lot about, and we talked a lot about at Summit last week, and lots of innovation happening there. And then blood sugar management too. So that kind of ties in with the weight management piece of that blood sugar control, consumers that are looking for more natural solutions. But yeah, Bill, I'm wondering how you feel on this pie chart in terms of where you see some increasing in the future, or what your thoughts are just at a glance. Now, others in that pie chunk category, so we'll get into some of those later, but just want to get your thoughts on 2023 and where you see some of those moving.
Yeah, right. Well, thanks. Because I'm seeing 12 conditions here plus others, and we do, as Erika said, we track 22 conditions. So these are just basically the top 12. And I'm not quite answering your question, Erika, but I think I always like to just recognize that when we use the term conditions broadly, they're health concerns like immunity or bone health or joint health. It's also we also use, it's really just lifestyle choices. I always talk about the what, the
Right.
where, and the why of supplements, and this is the why. Why are people buying them? So whatever the question is, I'm buying it for fitness or for weight management. That's our definition of a condition, and that's why it includes things like women's health and men's health and children's health.
Hmm.
What's interesting to me here, to answer your question, is just how, if you consider fitness as, for a lot of people, fitness is weight management. That's one of the main reasons people
Totally.
are out there hitting the trail and whatnot. So it's really interesting how dominant those two, seeing those two at the top here, fitness. Now, granted, we're combining that with energy, and for a lot of people, that's just how to get through the workday. Drinking an energy drink or whatnot. But yeah, so interesting movement there. And cold, flu, and immunity, we'll get it in a minute too, but it's seeing that move around from being the condition of 2020 and then dropping
Right.
out. And now it's back as number 3.
Yeah. And I love ending on that note because I feel like this next chart really speaks well to that, but I'll let you walk us through what we're looking at here. There's a lot of information here. So
Yeah. And I want to remind everyone, please drop questions in, and we'll see if we can get to those. And yeah, we'll try to get to those, especially at the end or maybe along the way. So just go ahead and plop those in, and we'll see what happens. So this is the same but different. This is not the complexity of the NBJ model estimate where activity is from a conditions standpoint. This is 1,000 consumers telling us, these are dietary supplement consumers, and telling us why they take supplements. It's a pretty straightforward question. Why are you taking it? And, and it was a select, so people could make multiple selections. You can tell that pretty quickly. It adds up to way over 100. But, well over half of consumers are taking it just for general health. Taking supplements for general health. Immune system is number 2. This kind of surprised me here. And increasing energy, reducing fatigue. So there's that energy component. And, those 3 are about the same. The energy, the healthy aging, and the gut health are really a third of people saying they're doing it for that. So over on the right there, you see, we asked this question last year, and it was stress, energy, weight management, sleep, mood, immune health, and hair, skin, and nails were the top, however many that is. This year, there's some interesting movement. Immune health moved way to the top. We took out general health from this list here, so that's why it differs from what's on the left. And then, but healthy aging showed up in the top, whatever this is, 7. Gut health showed up, bone showed up, heart health showed up. And it's interesting because a lot of those are healthy aging too. We see a lot of things within healthy aging. When people talk about healthy aging, they're talking about a lot of those other things too. So it's interesting to see how post-pandemic, things are shifting, but immunity is back. So that's interesting to see here.
yeah, I thought the immunity piece was interesting as well. Some of the research from, talking to other experts and brands in the industry, and then also seeing some other point of sale data. We saw immunity come up a little bit more than I was expecting. I think my prediction would have been, maybe in 2025, we'll start to get back into that. But yeah, it seems like 2024, like this year, it's sooner. So yeah, I think it's really cool that we do consumer survey stuff because it really, I think, complements nicely, market sizing to just kind of give us a different picture of, what consumers are saying. And so I love the longitudinal piece too.
Erika, we got a question too. And I wonder if you could go back to the pie, because
Sure.
Denise is asking, why isn't brain health and mood health here? And where are they dropping in?
That would be within that others pie, right? So it's just because that percentage is lower than 2.7, we just combined them into that others category. So if we did like all 22 conditions in this pie, it's kind of weird formatting, right? So like for presentation purposes, this just looks a little bit nicer, but we're actually talking about brain and mood health in a couple minutes. So maybe we could.
That's right. That's a good point. And why are we talking about it? We're talking about it because they're among the fastest growing conditions.
Yes.
So yeah, thanks for the question.
Yeah. And I think it's right? So this is for sales. So this is total size of the market. But now we're going to start to get into what's growing the fastest that we believe in 2023. So with that, right, the fitness and energy category that you were talking about, Bill, tops market share and was the top growing condition in 2023 per our estimates, right? So as we can see, it's about $11.5 billion in sales, and that growth percentage is around 7.1%. So it's really, obviously we're seeing a lot more people become more active, but now with this, weight management piece coming in and really affecting this industry, I think that's even more so fueling the growth of this category. So it's going to be among one of the top growing conditions over the next couple years. But in 2023, it was the top condition. But right, I mean, last week we heard so much about Ozempic and weight management and what are the effects on the industry. But I don't know, do you feel like that'll have an impact on this category, or is that more weight management?
Yeah, well, it is interesting. And someone has asked the question, Isabel, why do we think weight management was a big concern last year? I think that's pertaining to the survey where it didn't show up in the top 7. And it's, it's surveys can be squirrely that way. But I wonder what's going on there too. Is it maybe because the people most needing weight management are now turning away from supplements and going to, but we're still predicting it as a high growth area.
My opinion on that is, I think, like, I'm remembering, right? I have such a significant memory in 2023. I'm walking my dog and listening to podcasts talking about Ozempic. I just feel like in 2023, it was such a conversation. Everyone was talking about it. We wanted to know who was on it, what brands were doing what. No, there was it was just all in the headlines. And so I feel like just because it's not top of mind for consumers or at the top of their list doesn't mean that they're using it. I just think it's maybe talked about a little bit less.
Yeah.
So
great. Yeah, let's look at the next condition.
Yeah. Perfect. So mood and mental health. So whoever asked that question, I believe it was Denise, I believe. Yeah, so mood and mental health. So it is the second fastest growing condition we predict in 2023, growing at about 6.9% at about $1.5 billion in sales. And so, right, of course, like most categories, that huge bump in 2020 for obvious reasons I don't necessarily need to state. But yeah, we're seeing strong growth of around that 6 to 7% range, which we consider to be strong and healthy, which when you're thinking about industry average, right, that's normally around like 5%. So it's performing above average. And while we're seeing it lower a little bit in terms of consumer interest for 2024, I still think it's one of the top categories, especially among those younger consumers. And then with really, trending ingredients like ashwagandha and magnesium. So
yeah, we did a mood and mental health report earlier this year. It is definitely a condition we're watching. We're hearing a lot about. We're hearing younger generations being open, talking about mental health, and so it's. And then there's just the very real possibility. I mean, it probably always feels like society is full of mental health problems. I don't mean to be so grim, but there's like, it feels like there's a lot up right now post COVID.
Yeah.
There's wars, there's the politics, there's so much going on. Maybe there's always so much going on, but it really does feel like, so with mood and mental health, there's also the very real, oh my God, it's hard right now kind of situation. So
yeah, it might feel like it's denser, but I think it's just because more people are talking about it, but I mean, it gives, brands and consumers more of an opportunity. The more you talk about it, hopefully, the more information you'll see within this category, which I'm excited to see too.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But on that, I'll go ahead and go to the next one. So brain health. So this is going to be the last full condition we're going to be covering in terms of on the slides, but we'll get into because I've seen some questions roll in about other conditions that are also performing well. But for brain health, right, we're seeing this growth. So it's the top third fastest growing condition in 2023 at 6.3%, a little bit lower at about $2 billion in sales. But right, we're seeing, two growth opportunities here, right? We have an aging population who's concerned about memory and Alzheimer's, and they're having a lot of family members. I have personal experience with this, go through it. You're like, wow, I really need to be preventative. I want to be aware. I want to try to, better my health so that that doesn't happen to me. So we have that. And then we also have younger consumers looking for that focus piece, right? Kind of tying into what you were saying, Bill, of energy and wanting to get through the workday. And so we're having two different things at play here, which I think is what's fueling a lot of this growth.
Yeah. Yeah, that focus is it feels like a new, I mean, we've been saying this for 2 or 3 years. It's not brand new, but it feels like a new, it used to be a prevalent and a memory market, and now it's really a Silicon Valley sort of, I don't know when the term nootropics showed up on the scene, but it's been recent. It seems to me. And what does that mean? It means focus. It means mental acuity, being sharp for your work.
And I think also there's a sports nutrition piece in this here. Again, it's like, is it sports nutrition, active lifestyle, fitness, energy, whatever you want to call it, active lifestyle, the sports performance optimization. So I think of trying to get that focus of brain health and to get more out of your training session, let's say. I think that there's a piece in that here too.
Right. Yeah. And we talked a little bit about that from the stage last week at NBJ Summit. And there seems to be a shift right now on to optimization. It's not the first time supplements have been about optimization by any means, but I think the pandemic took us out of optimization into more of a survival zone, and now we're going back into here. We're seeing mental fitness. Previously, we saw physical fitness. So I think it's an interesting shift and opportunity for the industry right now.
Yeah.
And was that it? Was that our last slide? I think it is.
Yeah, last slide. Do we want to get into questions? I feel like we've seen a couple come through.
Joe Wilbeck. Sky Daily, I didn't quite understand your question. Could you clarify what you mean? Or maybe Erika understands, but I want to give you a minute to clarify what you mean by crossover. But Joe, how are weight loss drugs impacting consumer behavior here? It seems like there's a need for products that alleviate symptoms. So it's early days. It's really hard to tell what's happening with weight management, but we see what started off as like, oh my God, these drugs are going to kill the category for supplements.
Right.
Now it really seems to not be playing out that way. And it seems like they're really opening up a lot of opportunity for the category. So we're seeing two opportunities. There's a handful of products coming online that are supplement products that are hitting the GLP-1. So having some sort of GLP-1 agonist behavior, not to the degree of the pharma drugs, but a lot of people don't need that. So just a more subtle, hey, look, we can do this too with supplements and help people maintain their weight. And then there's the other side of it, which is the opportunity for people who are taking the drugs and are forgetting to eat, and let's get them some nutrition. I know the makers of Ensure just came out with, is it called Protality, I think, and it's a shake specifically formulated for when you're on these drugs. Let's keep some nutrition going in there. Adverse side effects. I haven't seen anything on that, Joe, as you clarify that question. I don't know if I'm not seeing anything yet that says, hey, this is going to help you with the side effects, but that does seem like an interesting marketing opportunity.
That came up last week at Summit. I think we actually had someone ask us specifically about side effects too, and how to go about, maybe targeting certain side effects. And I think the most we heard was that piece, right, of trying to manage, overall gut health while you're on these products, both from being on a pharmaceutical drug and also, like you said, Bill, the nutrition of that, if you're not getting what you need. And so I wonder if there's going to be more formulations and innovations specifically targeting that. My opinion, I think there will be, but we'll see, what that looks like. Is it in the shake already? Is it another supplement? Is it a powder? So
yeah.
We'll have to see. But I'm going to go back to that question. I'm not sure if she clarified the crossover, but what I think she means is, are we seeing, women's specific gut health products and versus men's, right? So I will say, from a research perspective, what I'm seeing more of is definitely more women focused products for gut health, but specifically in that sexual health category, right? So hormone health, hormone balancing health, also, you know, other sexual health products like, I don't know if there's necessarily a lot of libido specific products that are gut health per se. But I think that hormonal piece is an interesting one. And then menopause. So we track menopause, pre-postnatal separately from women's health. So if you were to combine all of those, the growth is up a little bit from just women's general health. But what's making it lag a little bit is the pre-postnatal isn't growing, you know, isn't growing that strongly. So anyways, there's a lot of that menopause also that's tying in gut health as well. So that's interesting. But I'm not seeing a whole lot in men's for gut health specifically, but I will say I've seen, you know, a little bit of an uptick in interest in men's sexual health products and then as well as men's hair care products as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Good. Let's look at a couple other questions. Thank you for the questions. We love the engagement.
yeah, this is great.
Great. So, Tony Lynn Davis, do you have any update on the New York 18-year-old issue? I really don't, and that could take us a bit off topic, but it is interesting. That's going to impact the weight management category too. That's something that is really, yeah, a threat to the category out in the marketplace. Let's see, what else do we have here?
Trying to scroll through these. Oh, I love this. What's influencing the increased interest in healthy aging? This is actually something that we're looking into right now. So we're actually in the process of producing a healthy aging specific report. So we're taking the healthy aging condition that we do track and show data for in this condition specific report, but we're going to be doing a deeper dive. So showing more ingredients that are fueling growth within the category, as well as more channel information. So, you know, is natural and specialty doing better? Is mass market? Is it still more of a direct focus? So that's going to be one if you're really interested in that to look into. But we're doing a consumer survey piece as well, and so it's interesting to see, you know, what consumers are looking for when they think of healthy aging. So we asked that question, and some of what came back was interesting, right? So like Bill was saying in the beginning, there's a lot within healthy aging, kind of like another, this is my opinion, of a remarketing term of general health, right? It's bone health, it's muscle health, it's brain health, it's heart health, it's immunity, and also loss of vision came up pretty high in that survey, which I thought was surprising, didn't you?
Yeah, well, it's somewhat surprising. Yeah, it's easy for you to say.
It is easy for me to say. It's true.
So it didn't really surprise me, but it is interesting. It's kind of a long list of things. We've recently, that report's going to come out in a month or so, and we're calling it a longevity report. We've realized that we need to talk about it as longevity, and so be on the lookout. I think it's on our store right now as healthy aging, but any minute it'll be changed to longevity because we're going broader. We're also looking in biohacking and what, you know, just getting some consumer opinions on what, you know, what is biohacking and are you doing it? So,
and if supplements are a part of that regimen, you know, are they doing is that part of their biohacking regimen?
Yeah,
so that should be interesting.
And people are learning the term health span, you know, learning how to live healthier, not live longer, or you know, that sort of thing. So we're well, and live longer perhaps. So another question, Sandra asked, can you provide a list of what is in the others part of the pie chart? Would love to. And here, this is a great opportunity to promo the report. If you haven't already, maybe one of my colleagues could drop the link to the condition specific report on the NBJ store into the chat, and in there you'll see in the table, you should see the whole table of contents on that page, and you'll see all 22 conditions listed there. Because again, there's 10 we haven't shown yet in this chat today.
Yeah, that's good idea. Another question from Isabel is, within mental health, what consumer trend do you predict to grow the most? Within the report, one of the top concerns we saw was stress, so more so than sleep or anxiety. So those were some of the other questions or responses we put in there. So I think it's the stress piece, I mean, there's like you said, Bill, there's a lot going on in the world, and add that on to all the personal things you have to deal with. I think people are just trying to look for something to help soothe that stress. And I think a big growth predictor that ties into that really well is, mood and mental health products are actually working for consumers and they're noticing a difference. And so I think, right, immunity, it's hard to tell if you feel healthier or that your immune system is fighting off more viruses or bacteria. But for mood and mental health, you can feel more at ease and feel more relaxed. So I think that that's something that's going to continue to, have the category growing in the future if brands can provide a formula that can do that.
Yeah. Let's see, where else? Here's an interesting one about the GLP-1 supplements. We've seen a couple. There's a couple that are on our radar to give specific calls to brands. One is Supergut. Really interesting. It's mostly a prebiotic fiber, but they've done, I believe, some clinicals on it, and they're demonstrating this prebiotic fiber as it was. You can tell it's called Supergut, and it's really about gut health. But they're actually demonstrating some benefits as a GLP-1 agonist in a minor way, minor compared to the drugs. But a really interesting one is the 10-year study, millions of dollars study out performed by the New Zealand government, looking into an ingredient, a derivative of hops, on the hypothesis that bitterness curbs appetite. And the study is really robust and shows that indeed, bitterness will curb appetite, and a brand has come out with that as a product called Calo Curb now, and so that's an one to watch and see what's going on there as examples of that.
Great. And then I'll answer two. I'll follow up with the mental health question. What about depression? We did ask about depression, but it actually ranked lower than anxiety or sleep. All consumers who said they bought supplements for mood and mental health, did select that option. It wasn't one of those top ranking responses. But we did see with younger generation, more consumers with younger generations were taking it for depression compared to older. And then I want to talk a little bit about let me go back up a little bit, growing interest in beauty from within. So hair, skin, and nails with the connection of gut health. Yes. And I think that this is also within the women's, because at least within the social media space, there's a lot of conversations going on between that connection with your skin and also hormone balancing. So, right, there's kind of like three conditions there. It's gut health, hair, skin, and nails, and then women's health, that hormonal health piece. So yes, there's a lot of interest there, and specifically for women. So I think that'll be interesting to see as well.
Excellent. I'm scanning. It looks like we've hit most of the questions. This is really interesting, though. We're doing I'm not sure what the name is. We always save a report as TBD on our calendar every year, and we look to see what's the topic from an ingredient standpoint or from a condition standpoint or whatever. And this year we've decided to do one around weight loss in the age of Ozempic. And this call today, this NBJ Live is very validating, because it seems like it's what everyone wants to talk about. I left out berberine as another example. Berberine was called nature's Ozempic at one point. Don't overdo that, though. That there's likely a warning letter in the future of using nature's Ozempic in their marketing. But berberine is a great one, hitting weight management from the blood sugar angle. So I don't know if that answers your question. I have seen berberine growing. Yeah, we sure have. I mean, we've just seen, and it's We just started tracking it, or we're about to start tracking it, Erika. I don't remember.
Yep, we've started just this
Yeah.
year. We started tracking it. Yeah.
Ingredients hit sort of a certain threshold. Sometimes there's a lot of buzz around an ingredient, and then we see that it's just a meager, actual dollars moving through the marketplace. But berberine is certainly one to watch. And then the push for proof, Joe, that's a whole other half-hour talk, I think.
Yes.
It's so important here, more, I mean, as much as in any condition we talk about, and there's just so much to talk about there. And here on the 30th anniversary of Deshay and some of the challenges that Deshay, structure function claims, and you have this push for proof, right? But then you don't get any exclusivity in your ability to market against that that study that you've done. I mean, our position here is just the more proof, the better. Do the science. I don't think that answers your question, but do the science. Look at that. We're over time. Yeah, what do you think? Maybe we wrap. It's 10:01.
Yeah.
I think we said we'd be here for a half an hour.
Yeah.
We're landing late. So thank you, Erika. Thank you everyone for all that great interaction, engagement.
Yeah, that was awesome. This is a fun one to talk about. We could have been on here for another probably 2 hours getting into the details of this, but there's a lot in this report, and Rick did a great job writing it and really giving examples and reasons as to why each condition is growing it is and what's moving. And so if you're wanting a deeper dive into some of those conditions, I think this would be a great place to look.
That's true. Okay. Cheers.
Awesome.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.